I wanted to speak a little bit on Rupert Lowe, the man. I've been thinking quite a bit about him, and I have to say I have the utmost admiration for his courage. I mean, talk about David and Goliath. This is what we're looking at. He's gone up and stood before the country and said that he plans to be the prime minister after the next general election. He said it very plainly that that's what he's aiming for. And of course, he's immediately surrounded by enemies. And he's surrounded by false friends. He needs to be so astute in his dealings, and I think he is. He's no fool. And yesterday, I think it was, I decided to have a look. I thought, I bet he's got some good support in Southampton because he'll be well known down there. But alas, I discovered that he wasn't at all liked, or he isn't at all liked by the Southampton fans. And there are various accusations made against him by Southampton Football Club fans. And they chant at the matches, apparently, or they used to chant, "Swing low," and something about, a hanging. Very unpleasant things that the fellow had to sit and listen to. And yet, really, he's mentioned it, his unpopularity, or it's been mentioned to him, and he's really brushed it off, People are entitled to their opinions. There's two sides to every story. And, he gives a few reasons why he was a good manager and he was happy with his contribution. Well, why wouldn't you be? I mean, again, it takes guts to go and buy a football club. And you're laying yourself open to criticism. And the problem is that criticism, particularly in sport, is driven by the narrative, and the narrative is created by the media. They have tremendous power in shaping public opinion, especially people who just rely on what's written in the newspaper and so on and so forth. So perhaps he was unjustly or unfairly judged. I don't know. I mean, maybe he was a bad manager and it doesn't really matter. I like the way that he just shrugs it off. What are you going to do? After David had killed Goliath, really his life became a ransom because the king was envious, and envy is such a deadly emotion. You don't want to be envied by somebody. They will destroy you if they possibly can. And we're told it in the Proverbs. what does it say? Wrath is outrageous, anger is, I can't remember, but who can stand before envy? Who can stand before envy? I can't remember that line now. And so, he stood up before the whole country and made this incredible claim. And I think he's as occurred with David. I mean, this is a figure of inspiration. When somebody does something like that, when David, with his sling and no shield, went and stunned Goliath, and then chopped off his head with his own sword. I mean, he was a hero of, immense proportions amongst his people immediately. And in fact, when he was forced to flee, I think he had about 400 men with him. You don't get 400 men running with you if you're no good. Oh no. He was respected from the beginning. And Rupert has this. He speaks from the heart. He answers fairly. His love for the country is evident in his words. He speaks carefully. He doesn't waste words debating with fools. I think he's an absolute godsend to this country, and he's really unsealed the lips of the nation, of the men of this nation. And people started talking, but he set it all in motion. So, I just think he hasn't got a hope in hell of winning by conventional wisdom. There's just no way. It's mathematically impossible. And the country, the fifth column in this country is absolutely, to me, so frustrating to see such opposition to the good that we want for this country, coming from our women very often, and people who just lack vision, or who oppose us because we're men. When the going gets tough, then the men just have to get going. That's what it is. We're the men. We're the ones where the buck stops ultimately. It's our fault. And we're the only ones that can fix it. And, we need women and younger people to help us and support us in these endeavours. That's what we need. And that's what Rupert needs. But, with the hand of the Lord, the impossible becomes quite possible. We don't know what the Lord is going to... If the Lord's hand is truly upon this man, as I have come to believe, I've even suggested that he might be in the Davidic line, but, that's kind of extreme, I guess. But, he just embodies this spirit of truth and honesty and honour that are, to me, godly signs. And, God defeated the Philistine army really at the hand of David, because that there followed a rout of the Philistine army, and great slaughter and a great victory was achieved for Israel on that day. That's why the women sang, Saul has slain his tens and David his 10,000s. Saul wasn't happy, King Saul wasn't happy to hear that little song from the young ladies. But I guess it's just the way that the Lord works. Because then the Philistine army came again, didn't they? A few years later, when Jonathan and his armor bearer went up, not understanding the instructions, not having heard. And they together routed the entire Philistine army, because they fought a very decisive battle and killed 20 of the Philistine soldiers. And it created a stir throughout the Philistine ranks, and they weakened at the front, and suddenly there was a rout. This is what happens with these armies, apparently. A fear goes through them. And of course the fear comes from the Spirit of God. There are many more examples in the Bible of that kind of agency. And, that agency, as long as a man is, proceeding as Rupert is, and, in a godly manner, that agency will be strengthened. And, I'm sure, I have no idea what Rupert's religious beliefs are, and it's none of my business. But, he could take heart in the fact that he can rely on the hand of the Lord. And I think that'll be the only thing that delivers the victory, because on paper it's really not possible. But we just don't know what we have to have faith in a measure. We have to have faith, and we have to walk, always in the light. Even when, we might perceive some benefit to stepping onto the dark side, we just don't do it. Just truth and honesty and courage. So anyway, I'm very pleased to have a man of that stature that I can agree with. I can't really serve him in any way. I can hardly look after myself. I don't think there's anything I could do. I could probably write something for him if he wanted, but that's very tricky. I don't know. I think I'd be better mucking out the stalls. I am kind of half thinking of going for a scullery job. I worked in a scullery in my youth in 2 different restaurants, and it was in many ways the worst job that I've ever done, but I know how to do it, and maybe now in my older days I'll find it more rewarding, just working in a scullery and washing all the dishes and glasses and pans as they come flooding through from the dining room. It's not called the dining room, I suppose. whether I'd have the stamina to keep it up. The problem with that job is that it goes into the small hours of the morning. In any establishment worth its salt, they're serving food until 1 o'clock. If there's any that are still going, because this was in the heyday back in the 1970s when people had money, I just don't see that many people, going out at all, except at weekends maybe. And everybody's a bit strapped for cash at the moment. I'm hoping that's going to change. Anyway, kudos to Rupert Lowe, and I'm praying for him. I guess I have him in my thoughts, and I have a great admiration. He has so much to lose. I don't think he's interested in the position and the glory. He just wants to get the country back. And again, the kind of person that you want as a leader is the one that doesn't really want to be your leader, but it takes up the scepter because it is in his hand. God bless this evening.